We're creating a tropical bird in a tropical setting for the advanced level Henri Rousseau project. You can see he's hidden among the grass, and some of the leaves are very three-dimensional. This is the paper we're going to be using. A tall sheet of black, 2 pieces of Kelly green paper, and 1 piece of brown in the same size. Now let's go to our first step, which are the learning from pages. Very important for this project. It's 3 pages. First one emphasizes art vocabulary and art technique. The second page is actually a line drawing of our tropical bird. And the third page is a grid that we're going to be using for drawing directly on the grid. Grid systems have been used by artists for centuries to help get the right size and shape of things that they're drawing. Now let's watch Karen demonstrate drawing the bird. Karen is using a thick black colored pencil, but students should be using a regular classroom pencil. Now she's decided to start with the body at the bottom because that's a nice big shape. Some people might prefer starting with the head, or the eyes, the beak, whatever your choice is.
Stop. Put your, say that again because that car went by. You say, I don't say what again. Some people prefer to start that one. What you said, some people prefer to start, and Karen, just make believe you're drawing.
Some people prefer to start with the bottom shape, the bottom part of the body. Other people might start with the head and the beak. It's really your choice. The main thing you want to watch for is copying line for line. You don't have to scale up in size. Just look at each grid box to get the right proportion. But remind your students that it doesn't have to be identical. It doesn't have to be perfect. After all, our untrained artist, Henri Rousseau, he's famous for making his animals of the rainforest very cartoon-like. She is using 2 kinds of crayons for coloring our tropical bird. For details, for any outlining that you want to stay permanent, she's going to use the regular classroom crayon, like she just used the black for the eye. But when it comes to coloring the feathers of our bird, this is when you want to start using the beautiful colors in our watercolor box of crayons. You don't have to completely fill in all of the white space, because as you're going to find out very soon, when we add water, it does make the color travel. The main thing is to remember, for permanent details and features, you want to use the regular classroom crayons. Now, what kind of colors do you choose? Well, it's really up to you. Some samples you might see are all warm colors. Some samples are more of the cool colors. Cool colors, of course, are the blues, greens, purples. Warm colors are reds, yellows, and oranges. It looks like Karen is using mostly warm colors on this tropical bird. The reason why we do the bird as the very first step for this project is to allow time for it to dry. That's very important before we cut it out. She has filled up her water cup with just a little bit of water. And notice how she's holding the paintbrush almost at the end of the handle, because we want to just tickle our paper with the tip of the brush. We don't want to be scrubbing those bristles on the paper. If your water gets a little sloppy and you go outside of your outline, not a problem, because remember, we're going to be cutting out this paper. If your water drips on the paper, it doesn't really matter. I recommend that you start with your lighter colors first and then start going into your darker colors so you don't contaminate your colors. Once you have finished adding water to the bird, you can just set it aside to dry, and you can put away the water cups and brushes because we're not going to be using them again. To cut out the tall blades of grass, which are layered, we're going to be cutting 1 sheet of the green paper and the brown paper together. Line them up, and starting at the bottom, we're going to come up, but we're not going to go all the way to the top edge. Then turn my paper around. And I'm not going to go all the way to the bottom either. We want one continuous length, so it's very important that we don't forget that important step. Some of it grass may be thick, some of it may be thinner. You can have wavy lines as well. Nothing is very symmetrical in nature. And then we're going to get to our corner and stop. Now look at what happens. I have my blades of grass ready to be glued. Karen is now going to start using the watercolor crayons. Notice first though that she did use the regular classroom crayon for adding some botanical details like the veins on these leaves. What colors do you use? Well, it's your choice. You can see by the samples below we have, variety of colors. She seems to be using a lot of red in this one. You do not have to complete the entire leaf. Remember, the green of the paper is color itself. It's just accent colors that we're adding. To make this a timely project, something that can be finished in a normal amount of time, we decided not to add water to this step. It would have taken too long for these leaves to have completely dried to be able to cut them out and glue them. We've cut out our bird and all of our leaves. Now it's time to put all of this together. Karen has picked up one of our brighter colors from the watercolor crayon box, and she's drawing some simple lines for vines. Remember, this is a lush rainforest, so there's going to be a lot of things growing. Karen is taking the alternating colors of the tall blades of grass and putting them in place to see how they look. She's going to stagger them a bit so that some are taller than others. The taller ones are going to be in the background. She'll take the front ones away and start with the first piece, which is higher up the paper, and then bring the other ones down till the bottom. Karen is using tape to speed up the composition process, but of course you'll be using white glue in the classroom. Have the students only glue the bottom part of the grass. We want this to have a three-dimensional effect, so we don't want those tall blades glued down in place. The grass is now in place, and so it's time to hide our bird in and among those tall blades of grass. Now when she glues it down, she's only going to put glue in two spots so that she can kind of scrunch the bird together a little bit so it'll poof out and give it a three-dimensional effect. We're going to do the same thing with our leaves at the top. Now when we glue our leaves down, they don't have to be completely on that black paper. We can go off the sides a little bit, make it a little interesting, make it look like a lush tropical jungle. One last detail is to draw two simple legs for our bird. Remember, birds' legs go backwards, human legs go forward. So the knees are towards the back where ours are towards the front. And then you're finished. Here is our advanced level Henri Rousseau project.